again, Joe Acker, myself, Terry Hugo, and Irene, my wife, and Wendy Colson are putting on a series of seminars or lessons on basic computer skills. The first lesson here really is, what is a computer? What is it? How can we use it? It's a tool. It's a tool. Just like a hammer or a power drill or anything else. It's a tool. Okay? How did we begin? Well, Joe Acker and Wendy Colson, on behalf of the LSVA, identified and submitted a grant application to the federal government to increase digital literacy of seniors in the area. The application grant was provided through the New Horizons Seniors program. The application was successful because it provided for the education of not only the GSV, but the seniors in the area of Parkland County, Stony Plain, and Spruce Grove. The grant involves the support of students from our local high schools. They will be assisting us during the lessons as we go along.
And they probably know more than we do.
Oh, totally,
God.
yeah.
Of course we do. So, basics and course overview today. We'll be discussing, but the basics and the course overview are, we're going to talk about the components of the computer, the firmware and operating systems, software applications, cloud, the devices, various devices you can connect to it, and the differences. And this will take place over a period of time where we'll have 13 lessons and 11 practice sessions. The lessons will be on Wednesday, every Wednesday, with the exception of maybe a few that do conflict with some of our other dates internally.
So what happens if you can't make it?
We'll get there. We have a plan.
We have a plan for everything.
We have a plan.
We have a plan. So in addition, there'll be 11 practice sessions on Mondays from
2:30 to 4.
2:30 to 4. Okay?
And you're welcome to bring any questions.
Right.
You got time.
At any time, just
Yeah.
interrupt if you have a question. And this is not structured. So basically, what is a computer? A computer is a tool. Various different kinds. We've got desktop computers, which can look like an all-in-one on that far right.
An iMac.
An iMac, an all-in-one in the middle, and typical Windows desktop on the far side. Laptop computers, well, they've come a long way since a few years ago even. They can be thin as an iPad. They can be a tablet, like they can have touch screens. They can be robust enough to do gaming or video editing, which takes a lot of memory and resources. So typically, they will look like, they'll be all self-contained. You won't have a separate keyboard. You typically won't have a separate keyboard, but you can hook a keyboard to it and a mouse and a printer and everything else you can do to a desktop. They're just portable. So you don't need the keyboard, you don't need the mouse, you can just use the unit itself. And lastly, we have tablets. Tablets have come a long way too. I mean, a lot of the tablets now have got just about as much resources as a laptop, as a basic laptop. They can do word processing, they can do mail, they can do all sorts of things. I did this presentation on an iPad. They're very if you're just gonna do basic stuff, an iPad is probably a good way to go. Or a tablet of some kind. Both Microsoft and Apple make tablets. So we'll do a little history of the computer, just a little.
Although computing seemed like a relatively modern invention, computing actually dates back to the early 1800s. And throughout computing history, there has not been a lone inventor or a single first computer. The invention of the computer was incremental, with dozens of scientists and mathematicians building on their predecessors. So in this video, we're going to be starting the evolution of the computer from the 1930s. The 1930s marked the beginning of calculating machines, which were considered the first programmable computer. Konrad Zuse created what became known as the first programmable computer, the Z1, in 1936 in his parents' living room in Berlin. He assembled metal plates, pins, and old film, creating a machine that could easily add and subtract. Although his early models were destroyed in World War II, Zuse is credited with creating the first digital computer. In the 1940s, computers took up entire rooms like the ENIAC, which was once called the mathematical robot. John Mauchly created the ENIAC during World War II to help the army with ballistic analytics. The machine could calculate thousands of problems each second. The large-scale ENIAC weighed 30 tons and needed a 1,500 square foot room to house the 40 cabinets, 6,000 switches, and 18,000 vacuum tubes that comprised the machine. Some called his invention the beginning of the computer age. In the 1950s, computers were strictly used for scientific and engineering research, like the JONIAC, which was once described as a helpful assistant for mathematicians. The JONIAC was completed in 1954 and was used by RAND researchers. The massive machine weighed just over 2 tons with over 5,000 vacuum tubes. This early computer operated for 13 years or 51,349 hours before being dismantled in the 1960s. But everything changed when the Programmer 101 became the first desktop computer sold to the average consumer. Up until 1965, computers were reserved for mathematicians and engineers in a lab setting. The Programmer 101 changed everything by offering the general public a desktop computer that anyone could use. The 65-pound machine was the size of a typewriter and had 37 keys and a built-in printer. As personal computers became popular in the 1970s, the Xerox Alto helped pave the way for Steve Jobs' Apple. The Xerox Alto was created in the 70s as a personal computer that could print documents and send emails. What is most notable about the computer was its design, which included a mouse, keyboard, and a screen. This state-of-the-art design would later influence the Apple design. In the 80s, Apple's Macintosh was described as a game-changer for the computer industry. When Steve Jobs introduced the first Macintosh computer in 1984, Consumer Reports called it a dazzling display of technical wizardry. The Macintosh had a keyboard, a mouse, and a small 9-inch screen. The computer, which weighed in at 22 pounds and cost $2,495, was applauded for its interface of windows and icons, as the 90s marked a period of self-expression. Apple released the famous iMac G3, which was customizable. The iMac G3 was launched in 1998, after Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997. The computer quickly became known for its Bondi blue clear casing. The 38-pound iMac included USB ports, a keyboard, and a mouse. It was meant to be portable and customizable. In the early 2000s, laptops became increasingly popular, especially after Apple launched its MacBook Air. And in 2008, Steve Jobs slid the first MacBook Air from a manila envelope and shocked everyone at Apple's Macworld with how thin the laptop was, measuring only 0.76 inch thick. This expertly designed laptop changed the industry forever. Apple got rid of the CD drive and only included a USB port and a headphone jack. At the time, the minimalistic device cost $1,799, and today, computers come in all shapes and sizes, including tablets. Today's most innovative computer are tablets, which are simple touchscreens, without a keyboard and a mouse. But even though tablet sales are on the decline, 33 million tablets were sold in 2018. And the market is also filled with other computer models, including the MacBook Pro, iMac, Dell, XPS, and iPhones. So that was a brief history of the evolution of computers. We covered the most important